I remember that. Still, if you ever watch that game back, it was one of my best ever games. I didn't score in the game. We won 4-2, but it was one of my best games. And I remember thinking, I can play this. I never believed, because I was young, and I never believed I could play there as a number 9, a lone forward at that age as well. And I think now what you're seeing is you're seeing Rashford's been, of late he's been playing as 9, but Rashford and Mbappe have both gone to 9s this season. Players are scoring, like you look at Salah, Messi for a long time, Ronaldo for a period of his career. The goal scorers come from out wide, and the forwards are there to do a job and pin defenders back in. So if you've got that mindset that you want to score goals, you've probably got a better opportunity from the wide areas, because you get a bit more freedom. You can get the ball and face your defender up rather than playing with your back to goal. So I think that's why you've lost them. I think Isak, Haaland, Watkins, probably the 3 standout ones. Rashford's doing a lot better now. They're probably the standout ones in the league. But beyond that, you know, in European football and world football, there's not many, you know, natural number 9. Like Drogba was the one. Drogba was...
Yeah. That was a great
for
player,
me. He was the one who you look at, you think, I would have loved to have played off Drogba and, you know, just filling in little areas where he went.
We'll get back to Wazza in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And as ever, if something is on your mind, if something is bubbling up inside of you that you need to express, please express it in the comments. The Big D reads all of the comments, and he's always interested in what is on your mind. Anyway, in this little clip, Wayne Rooney, the legendary Manchester United all-time top goal scorer, is on the overlap breakdown. And it's a really interesting little interview, really, with Wazza. It's always good to hear from Wazza. And in this little clip, he's going to be talking about some of the best defenders that he's played against, like Maldini, John Terry, even Carragher. He says he's one of the hardest defenders he's played against. He's going to be talking about some of his favourite players growing up and how he might have adapted to today's game. But anyway, stick around for after the clip, because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on this little clip. So stick around for that. Here's Wazza.
Joining me on the couch. So I just want to start off, because we're going to do this show around great strikers and what makes a great striker. I mean, if for you, when you're thinking about a great striker, centre forward, what are the first things that spring to mind?
Goals. No, I think obviously scoring goals. I think there's been so many great strikers. You go back to, you know, Ronaldo, R9, who had a bit of everything. I always say Drogba, as a number 9, he could head the ball, hold it up. He was quick, powerful. Shearer, out and out goal scorers. I think that's when you think of a striker.
Who was your hero growing up? As like when you looked at centre forwards?
It was different. So I used to love obviously Duncan Ferguson, Alan Shearer. Used to look at them two really. Paul Gascoigne as well. No, he's not a forward, but and then as my game was developing, because I was playing in the older age groups. I was playing for the 19s when I was 14, and they were the centre backs were too strong for me. So then I changed my game a little bit more as a number 10. So I used to watch Yari Littman. I used to watch videos of Yari Littman all the time. When he was at Ajax, Dortmund, and just in terms of how he found space and got on the ball. So
I think that what you've just said there, it just takes me back, because would you believe I was a centre forward as a kid? So I've got a little bit of expertise on that. But when you talk about changing your game, we always associate that, don't we, with players who are over 30, proper professionals, not young players having to change your game to adapt. And I think that shows, you know, even when you're only 14, you're having to change and adapt because you're playing with the under-18s. Now, when I was a kid as a centre forward, I was a number 9, scored goals, you know, seen as the best player in Liverpool and stuff like that. And then I went to Lilleshall, and I was a late developer physically, so you get into sort of 14 and 15. Some of the lads were like men. And I couldn't run in behind anymore. I'd always been someone who was a number 9, ran in behind, scored goals. I couldn't do it. And again, I had to sort of think, I have to do something different here. But that's even at a young age. I was only 14, so I ended up having to, someone who held the ball or get between the lines, try and get on the ball and touches.
Yeah, no, I think back then, you normally play with 2 forwards. Back then, and the centre-backs, well, when I'm playing with the under-19s, they way bigger than me. So every time the ball would come in, he'd push me off the ball, and so I was like, well, there's no point in me going up and standing up against him because I'm not physically ready for that yet. So I started coming a bit deeper, and I have played midfield as well. I played as a centre midfield player as well. Then I went to a forward. So the natural thing for me was to say, okay, let's go and try and play just off the forward and try and create space and get in behind them midfield players and make the centre backs come out to try and catch me really.
Why is the world stop creating centre forwards? It feels to me, if I go back to the 90s or something, I feel like every country had 5 or 6, like, where you know, strikers where you go, this one, you could just name them, you could just keep naming them, you'd get up to sort of 20, 25 strikers. It doesn't, what, is this the way the game's moving? Is it just something we've got to go through and they'll come again?
Yeah, I think the forwards will come again, and for me, it's changed massively in terms of centre forwards don't touch the ball no more. And I don't know what it was, I heard someone talking about it the other week, saying the centre backs are having...
It's Gary, yeah.
Was it Gaz? I heard Gaz talking about saying the centre backs have most touches of the ball. Like goalkeepers now are having 50 touches a game, and then the centre backs are having a lot of the most touches. And for forwards, you're very rarely touching the ball now, and you're expected to score a lot of goals. When Van Gaal came into Man United, he was telling me about the striker he had at Bayern Munich. Who was it at the time?
Pizarro?
No, and can't remember who it was, but he was saying that he'd have like 15, 16 touches a game, but score 1 or 2 goals. And I was like, fuck that. I've always wanted to touch the ball and get on the ball. And so I said to him, well, I'd rather go and play midfield than play as a number 9. I'd rather be involved in the game. And I think the game's just changed that. And it's a lot of build-up play, everything's got to be precise now rather than, you know, put the ball forward, put in the channel, go and compete with your centre-back. That's gone out of the game a bit now. And no one crosses the ball.
Do you think the way the game's going, do you think that's making people not want to be a striker? They're actually not involved in the game. So you're actually, you know, if you think of a basic thing as a kid of like playing football, it's touching the ball, isn't it? And being involved, and you know. So even when you go back to sort of academies now and the way they're getting brought up,
well, I had a conversation
with
with my lad, my eldest boy, he's at United Academy, and he's a number 9. He gets the ball, lays it off, gets in the box.
Saw him score a brilliant goal the other day.
Yeah, he did. But he's a number 9. But then sometimes he plays on the right, and he comes home and he's like, I enjoy it more playing off the right. And so I keep saying, no, you're playing as a 9. He's better as a 9, and even though he can play off the right, he's left-footed. And so yeah, I think, and he's like, it's boring. And I think for a lot of number 9s now, they're not involved in the game that much. They are trying to find different positions to go and play.
Okay, I mean, you scored 208 goals in the Premier League, one of the greatest strikers, you know, we've ever seen in the Premier League and in English football. I mean, I just wanted to ask you, what was a tough defender for you to play against? That doesn't necessarily mean like, you know, the biggest name or the greatest defender against you. What did you find tough to come up against?
So I've always said John Terry was the toughest defender I played against, and
he was a great player, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, like, even with both feet, he was, on the ball he was good. And with JT, he was brilliant in the air, he could tackle. But you'd always look at him yourself, you were very similar to JT, that you'd always look at him and think, right, I'm quicker than him, I can run in behind him. But it's always you do as well, you put yourself in a position where it was difficult to be able to do that because you just read the game really well. Where I used to like playing against big centre-halves, where JT's not the tallest as well, but I used to like playing against big centre-halves who wanted that body contact and wanted to go tight against you, and because then I could spin them or I could come off them, and if they give me that yard to turn, I knew I could take them on, whatever. So I think it was defenders who, Maldini, when we played AC Milan, he was like, must be 38, 39. And again, as good as he was, you're thinking, you know, he's a bit older, but always put himself in the position to nullify your strength fairly. So I'd probably say JT was the toughest.
The way the centre-forward landscape's changed, and we're talking about 1 up front, 2 wide players, centre-forwards not touching the ball. Who do you look at in the modern game who reminds them of yourself, you sort of when you watch them? Is there someone who's got the traits of a Wayne Rooney playing right now?
At times, I think Jude Bellingham at times when he plays in that 10 role, just because of his character, and He's energetic. He likes to put his foot in. He'll have a go at his teammates. He'll have a go at the ref. So I think there's traits of him. But in terms of forwards in the Premier League, I'm not sure. I didn't enjoy playing this number. I remember we played Milan away. I'd scored 2 goals. We won the game 2-0. And I come off the pitch and I hated the game. And like, I love scoring goals, of course, but I always wanted to be involved. And hated my 2 best scoring seasons with United. I scored 34 goals in both of them. And I didn't enjoy the whole season because I didn't feel like I was involved in the game. So forwards have to be more selfish. They have to be ruthless. You have to be in the box and wait and rely on your teammates to create chances. And I always just wanted to be involved. So
what would you do now then? If you were playing now, the way the game's getting played, would you go and speak to a manager, or you've got to change your style of play, the manager, or I want to leave? Or,
no, you never.
Or I can't play centre forward in this team. I've got to play.
No, I could play there. I always remember.
No, but you're not enjoying it.
So my first ever game as a number 9 was a Highbury. It was the one where Roy and Vieira were arguing. That was my first ever game as a lone striker, number 9, and against a top Arsenal team as well. And
do you know what? Wayne Rooney was absolutely amazing. Sometimes you forget how good players were, and sometimes you need to go back just to see how much of a force of nature some of these players were. I mean, Wayne Rooney could do everything. Everything. And I've always said there, I mean, he said a couple of times there that he never really enjoyed playing as a number 9. But the ironic thing is, if Wayne Rooney had stuck to his guns and played at number 9 throughout his entire career, he probably would have broken Alan Shearer's record. He'd have scored a lot more goals for Man United, and he'd have won Ballon d'Ors as well. Because he used to sacrifice himself for the team a lot at Manchester United, because Ronaldo wanted to be the main man. And I used to go and watch United back in those days, back in circa 2007, 2008. I used to live next door to the ground. And whenever I used to watch Ronaldo, he used to really frustrate me because he'd give someone he would lose the ball like 9 times out of 10. But on the 10th effort, he'd score like a 40-yard screamer and then he'd be the hero. Fair enough. But out of all of those 10 instances, chances that he had, it was probably Wayne Rooney that set him up. So like Wayne Rooney was almost like he was like 2 players in one. I always felt as though he took over from Roy Keane as being that driving force of the team, but he was also the creative spark that Eric Cantona used to be. He was Roy Keane and Eric Cantona combined, Wayne Rooney, and he was just absolutely incredible. And I think he's in with a fair shout as being the greatest Premier League player of all time. He's definitely in the conversation. He's up there with Keane, Bale, Ronaldo. He was better than Thierry Henry, without a shadow of a doubt, because Wazza was a big game player. And the difference between Wazza and Thierry Henry was that Thierry Henry, I got the impression that he wanted to be the best player in the world, but he just couldn't do it. When it came to the biggest games against the best teams, he was always like Robin to someone else's Batman. So, he was always second fiddle to Zidane, or when he went to Barcelona, he was always second fiddle to Lionel Messi. Whereas Wayne Rooney, he was as good as anyone, but he just wanted to play football and just be involved in the game. Like, as he says there, he just wanted to be involved. He wanted all the touches and all of that good stuff. But Wayne Rooney was amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, if you think about back in those days, I mean, the fact that he stood out as a 16-year-old is absolutely incredible, because when he broke through, I mean, I think Alan Shearer was still knocking about. I think Michael Owen was still knocking about. I think Robbie Fowler was still knocking about. You had Robin Van Persie. He was coming to the fore. I mean, Thierry Henry, as much as I've just criticised him there, he still was a class player. Bergkamp was knocking around as well. You had Ruud van Nistelrooy too. And yet Wayne Rooney was just an absolute breath of fresh air. And it's really interesting to... It's really interesting when he talked about when he was younger and he has to sort of adjust his game. I can't imagine Wayne Rooney getting muscled off the ball by someone stronger than him. He was an absolute little tank himself. So the fact that he had to sort of adjust from being a number 9 to become a number 10 initially, just to create space and try and draw the defenders out when he was younger and they were all a lot bigger than him. I mean, that just shows you how intelligent he was as well. He comes across as quite an intelligent bloke, Wayne Rooney, as footballers go anyway. I mean, he might not necessarily be a stunning linguist, so to speak. I mean, not everyone can be like the Big D, but it just seems as though he knows what he wants to say, he knows what he's talking about, he just can't quite find the words to express what he understands about the game. Because, you know, like all great players, they were the ones that showed the manager how to do things. But telling someone, the next Wayne Rooney who's coming up, what to do might just be a little bit of a struggle for him, which is maybe why he hasn't quite made it as a manager. Because Alex Ferguson used to say that his biggest asset as a coach was his communication skills. And I think, well, I mean, I'm not going to argue with the boss, Fergie. I mean, in terms of playing in today's game, I think Wayne Rooney would fit in no problem. You could put him in Man City's team, like anywhere across that front three. Play on the right, play on the left, and play up front. He used to do that with United. In fact, it's almost like United were, I don't know, they kind of pioneered modern day football, because that front three in its prime between Ronaldo, Tevez, and Rooney, they were all interchangeable, because sometimes Ronaldo would be on the right, sometimes he would be on the left, sometimes Wayne Rooney would be on the right, sometimes he would be on the left. Tevez used to float around a bit, and they used to just kind of roam around and just kind of instinctually kind of understand where everyone was going to be and where they needed to be able to sort of open up a defence. So Wayne Rooney could fit in today's game, absolutely no problem at all. And certainly fit into United's 3-4-3 system too. So yeah, Wazza was class. He was definitely sort of a new breed of footballer when he first came through, because if he'd come up through the 90s, they probably would have tried to make him like the new Alan Shearer, perhaps, or even Paul Gascoigne, as he was saying there. But Wayne Rooney was absolutely incredible. In terms of players who are like him, who are playing today, I kind of disagree with him a little bit with Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham, yeah, no, he reminds me a little bit more of, say, someone like Brian Robson. I don't see Wayne Rooney there. I mean, in terms of that competitive instinct, fair enough, but I don't see him as being sort of, like an aggressive kind of forward like Wayne Rooney was. Wayne Rooney was very much like Roy Keane, only a forward. I can't actually think of a footballer that's playing today at the top level who reminds me of Wayne Rooney. The game just seems to be different now, because everything's so technical. Wayne Rooney was very much, he was almost like a street footballer. I mean, he was incredible and he could play in today's game, but he was the kid that was always playing on the streets. You don't get that now. They're all technical, they're all massive athletes, they're all superb professionals. You don't hear about many footballers going out and sort of smoking and drinking and getting up to no good with grannies and things like that. You know? So, I mean, even back in Wayne's day, it was a lot more professional than 10 years prior to that, but it's even more. They almost live like monks now, it seems. And they all seem to be a lot bigger in real life than what they used to be back in the day. You don't really see a lot of small players anymore. I mean, look at United's team now. I mean, Martinez is the smallest guy, but he's the same size as Jamie Carragher, and Jamie Carragher was considered someone that was actually quite big at the time. So yeah, no, I can't think of anyone. Who do you think? Who reminds you in today's game of Wayne Rooney? Is there anyone? I don't think there is. Wayne Rooney was unique. There was one player that was similar to Wayne Rooney prior to Wayne Rooney, and that was Paul Gascoigne. Since Wayne Rooney, there hasn't been anyone. But anyway, you might disagree. Thoughts in the comments, and the Big D will see you in the next one.